All right, here is the finalized risk matrix template doc. I didn't do too much other than clean up, move some of the info over. Um, so I'll just walk through it. Okay, this tool is meant to help identify project organizational risks, help you think about the things that might derail your efforts, and then prepare for them. I mean, that's really the only reason that we document, quantify risks. Excuse me, is to just to try to do something about it, is to sort of make a plan for the future. And a lot of the times, all you can do is mitigate. You can't. I mean, you can't entirely avoid. And so this table says what's the consequence and what's the likelihood of any one risk occurring. So if we go to new risk, and let's say the risk is that the car won't start. Okay, the consequence one, this is where the description comes in. So it's like if the car doesn't start, I'll be late for work, which is not true for me. I work from home. If the car doesn't start, I don't have to go somewhere, which is maybe better. But to play this out, car won't start. Maybe the consequence is actually pretty high because like I need my job to work, right? But the likelihood, maybe I got a pretty new car, so the likelihood is low. And in this case, what's going to happen is there's going to be an AI mitigation plan created here, just based on a prompt in the back end. But you can create your own mitigation plan. So it's like, uh, have the let's see, have the number of cab or Uber ready. Prep boss with likelihood that it may occur. Avoid booking early meetings, right? Okay, so all a bunch of things that we can do to avoid this risk or to mitigate it. Regular maintenance checks, that's a good one. Backup transportation. So this AI isn't it's not too bad, right? Carpooling with a colleague. And then below this are these scenarios. So these are AI based scenarios. Three of them. There's an optimistic one, a pessimistic one, and then this custom one where you can dump in whatever sort of thing you want here. So these just kind of help you uh, take what's in your mitigation plan and um, build a scenario around them. Okay, so just help you think through kind of what might happen in that scenario. So the custom ones, again, if you change the instructions for the custom scenario, you can put anything you want in here, and the scenario will adjust to whatever you said. So you could specify something different, like there's no bus in my neighborhood or something, and it would do that. Okay, the only other thing, which it looks like I didn't actually implement, I'll do now, is to bring in this sense of the projects. Because you can associate you can associate a risk with a project. In this case, you might want to say tags. I mean, this could really be anything. Right now, I've got these three projects in place, and so you could build up a model of risks just for um, specific projects, multiple projects, depending on things. So it's like then when you're running your project, you could take a look at the risks associated. But this would more likely be a sort of crosstalk, or you would bring the risk matrix in and plug it into the rest of your system that way. So again, you can see the risks specific to one project over another. Okay, excuse me. That's it. The build will follow. Get any questions, reach out. You can hit me up here, my website, or put a comment in the video below. Okay, cool. See ya. Okay, fans of handcrafting tools in Coda, I know you're out there. Well, one or two of you are going to be excited for today's topic. It is risk matrices. Um, coda.new. Why do we like risk matrices? Well, sometimes it's important to be able to uh, identify the risks inherent in different ideas, different solutions. Sometimes, if you're doing project management, you want to identify the risks of certain, I don't know, events happening. So it's like a client is has been non-responsive, or let's say you're identifying in advance that there may be some data transfer issues. You know, you might compile all these risks at the outset of a project, and so you can put plans in place to mitigate them. And that's really what the risk matrix is about. It's about mitigation. So where do we start? Well, we started with coda.new, and I'll title it risk matrix. And one of the first things we need to do is determine our scale. So I like to use likelihood and consequence. You might call them something different, but these are sort of the traditional sort of two-dimensional parameters of uh, risk matrices. So let me just finish what I'm doing. I don't know why I didn't DB these, which I usually do. Just suddenly really liked seeing it as dB as in like decibels. That's funny. Okay, so likelihood is. Let me copy these. I have these written down somewhere else. So let me just pause and then copy them over. Okay. So for likelihood, I mean, it's right there. So it's based on like percentage likelihood of occurrence, just kind of like the weather. Is this event likely to occur, or like very unlikely to occur? And then for consequence, we're looking at, assuming that it would occur. Um, what's the projected outcome? And so extreme is like project or business will fail. Whereas insignificant is, even if it happens 100% certainty, not going to have an impact on the business. So this is like a 5 minute power outage for me at home. It's like, so what? I'm not even, my computer's not even plugged in right now. Whereas a 5 minute power outage at a factory with assembly lines can have a huge impact, because like every one of those machines, if they get shut down mid-cycle, may have to be restarted. They may they can actually get damaged sometimes. You have to get technicians. So it's like same likelihood, and actually even the same kind of risk might have different consequence in different industries, different applications. So here we go. Okay, so then what we want to do for each one of these things is put a number column on here. I'll call this like numerical uh, likelihood, I guess. And this helps us because we're gonna have like a 25 square matrix, these 5 by 5 sort of matrices. These 5 times 5 is 25, so 5 is certain, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then we'll do the same numerical consequence. This is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And someone, oh, never mind, just stopped. Okay, so now that we have that, so let's make a risk table. We'll call it risks. Okay. The risk name. This will be a description of the risk, and then what we want are two columns looking up. So we'll go likelihood. Only one. Okay, and consequence. Okay, and so now let's say 5-minute power outage. The power goes out for 5 minutes. This one might be asteroid collides with my house, or I'll say asteroid, and in the description I'll say asteroid collides with my house. And another one is client goes bankrupt. Client bankruptcy. And client, oh, I should actually probably in the description say crushing me and I die, right? Power goes out for 5 minutes and I guess it takes my internet connection out. So actually, it could be a problem because what if I'm on an important client call? Client loses ability to do business and likely can't pay for my services. All right, so if we say, what's the likelihood of a 5-minute power outage? Well, I live in Canada, so the likelihood is high. It's actually certain. I'm almost certainly going to lose my power sometime in a year. And maybe that's important too. Like, why can't I spell this thing today? Likelihood is a span of a year. So certain, and the consequence, I guess I could say it's medium. Asteroid likelihood is very low. The consequence is extreme. I die. Client bankruptcy is also, let's say, low in this case, and the consequence is medium, right? Because it's just one client. I guess it depends on which client, but anyway, okay. So here we go. So now, what I can do is put on another number column here. We'll call this numerical risk. We're going to do a formula, so I'll hit equals, and it's going to be likelihood dot numerical likelihood times no, I'm not going to do this. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the likelihood and bring in numerical likelihood. I'm going to take consequence, bring in numerical consequence, because that's going to let me map these things on two scales, right? Map each risk on the scales. And then what I can do is add the number column. I probably shouldn't have deleted the other one I had, but here we are, numerical risk. And I'm going to say equal, no, you say equals numerical likelihood times numerical consequence. Okay, so now already, if I wanted to, let's call this backend, and we'll do a new page called risk matrix. Okay, now on the risk matrix, I can call up my risks, and I want to plot this, let's say, I don't know. Maybe you want to plot it as cards. Hide the columns. And if we go back to the options and group, we'll say add a group, and it's going to be numerical consequence. Yeah. I don't think so. I don't think it's going to work as cards. Let's go back to table. We'll keep it as group. And actually, maybe it's not numerical consequence. I want to do it based on consequence. Okay, but really what I want to do is show, there we go, show empty groups. All right, I want to see all of them. Okay, so there's consequence. Now I'm going to do the same for likelihood, but I'm going to group that across the top. And again, I want to see all the groups. Background color on. Okay. But I don't want them sorted that way. Nice, source table order reverse. I've never seen that before, so that's very helpful. So now, already I can see here's my risk matrix, right? I've got my few risks in here. I'm going to clean it up a little bit by taking off the bottom new row. And maybe we only want the, I guess in terms of columns, I don't want to see the consequence. I just want to see the risk name. And oops, I'm going to go to conditional format, add a rule, risk name bold, so that pops out a little bit. All right, I can bring some of these in a little bit. Maybe. And I also always hide these group row counts. I don't know. They take up too much space. Great, done. There it is. I'll rename this risk matrix. And we've got it. Actually, what I want to do is bring in expand row, right? So that we can see, if I open it up, edit layout, consequence, likelihood, description, and the numerical risk, right? So if I say consequence and likelihood, and actually bring up the description, and the risk maybe up there. So client bankruptcy, actually I'm going to bring the risk up here. No, I'm not going to do that. So I am going to call, I think I need another column to get that risk better. So I'm going to do I call this risk. Edit this. I'm going to make this a compose column. Compose. And it'll be a numerical risk out of 25. Oops, there we go. Nope, didn't want to do that. Okay, so if I put that up there, if I take that off, what is this? HO? H0, so I want this to be H0. Oh, really? You're not going to let me H0 something? That's fucked up. Okay, well, we'll work our way around that and say I'm going to duplicate the column, get rid of this. I'm going to try instead, which one's the duplicate? Risk, copy risk, okay. Column type, we'll go back to a text, fine. Yeah, see, now it's going to work. All right, so we'll add a formula and we'll say concatenate, do numerical risk, comma, 25. Yeah, fine. Whatever. Yeah, so I'm going to delete that, delete it, and hey, I'm going to center this, center that, and what was I just coming back here to do? I want to call this now risk. Risk display. Yeah, let's go risk. All right, asteroid. Its extreme is very low. Great. So now I need to clean this up. Get this risk off of here. Hide. All right. Now, one thing that might be nice to do is to conditional format this thing, but I think problem is going to be how to do it cleanly. So like if I go to options and conditional format this one and just add the rule, say base it on the numerical likelihood and use color scale. Which one? This one? Yeah. Right. Now what happens when I go back to the risk matrix? Okay. It's backwards though. Is that right? Yes. Okay. And then I'll do this one. What do I do? Numerical. Okay. So I mean that's kind of there, but the colors don't come across to the actual risks because that has to happen. That has to happen in this one. So how do I do that? Well, if I add a rule that says, say the numerical risk formula. Okay, that works. Okay. That leaves these other things blank, and I don't know if this one is yellow and low. Like, what happens if I have a insignificant certain? What color does that become? Green. Oh, interesting. Look at that. Every time you add another one, it like changes the color of the other ones. Does it? Huh. Well, I guess that's all right. That's better than nothing. Okay, so I'm trying to get Control Z my way out of that bit of mess. All right. Cool. Yeah, interesting that that changes color when you add one above it, and that one doesn't. But here we are. Okay, so now I've got those risks in here. What I would probably end up doing is importing this um, into another document where I've got something like, let's say, projects. And here I've got a table of my projects, and I would say project is client CRM, build, and this one is client wiki build, and this one is workshop learning coda. So then what I could do here is I would bring in risk matrix, risks, right? Risks, and make this multi-select so that now I can say, okay, well, what are the risks associated with a client CRM build? And I probably want to do this from within the row. There, okay, so it's a table now. Because then what I can do is say, yeah, there's none here, so I can either choose the risks that I already have, which maybe it's client bankruptcy, wrap text, it shouldn't need to do this, wrap text, okay, and then wrap text. So then what's fun here is you can do the same kind of thing where if I really want, I could group, right, by what did I do last time? Consequence to the left and likelihood to the top. Okay, now for every client, I can go into their project build and see, where are our risks. And so I would have to again go to, I turn off that new row button and pin the expand button. And I probably want to lose the description, do another conditional format, add a rule for risk name, bold, stuff starts to feel a bit repetitive, doesn't it? Numerical risk. What did I do? This one? This one. Right? Okay. And then I want to get rid of my group counts. Okay, so now within each client project, I mean, here it just looks like this. But in here, you get this like rich view just for the client. And of course, now what I could do is if I wanted to, I could edit column, create the linked relation on the risk matrix side. Is this backend? All right, TB risks. So now I've got projects on this side. And that means that on the risk matrix over here, I could add a filter bar. All right, to now see just the risks associated with a certain project. So that's if you're in this view, you'd be able to see that. And then if you're in the projects view, you'd be able to add here. Now the problem is you end up in this like bit of a sticky spot where like because I've turned off that button, I can't easily add, like I can add a new one here because this is blank already, but here it's like I have to click on it, right click, insert new row, which is like fine, but I tend to think fine when it comes to UI isn't good enough. So we add a column, new risk button, and change this to a button. And what we're going to do is say add row to DB risks where the project is this row. And we might just leave it there and say new risk. Lightning? Is that a good? Yeah. Oh, that looks risky. Advanced, remove the every time, only for errors, nothing there, and center, no, right. And then we can move it up. And then the other thing I'd probably do is add a column here and call this header risks. And add a formula and call it, just say risks. And then we can move this up here and center that, take the label off, maybe an H2, and then take the label off that. Okay, and it starts to look a little bit better. Now, I don't usually like to leave the search here, but I guess if you said like bankruptcy, then that's going to come up, and if you said time, it's not. So I mean, if you had a very dense matrix of risks, that search might come in handy, so we'll just leave it there. So now, when you go to new risk, I didn't open row. Well then, where'd that go? Here, I want this instead of add row to be open row, add row. And now it'll open it up. Okay, but in the meantime, look where it put it. Somewhere down here. I guess that's it there. So I'm going to delete that. Yes, delete row everywhere. And then what I realize we need to do is for likelihood and consequence within risks, we need to set some default values for new rows. Let's say medium, and consequence will set to medium. Okay, and now when you go to risk, now when you go to projects, new risk is going to open that. It's assigned it. You should probably go to a different layout like this one. And you can name it, call it project lead leaves. If the lead for the project quits or dies, be difficult to find another person who cares as much about the project. Project could fail. So now I can look at the consequence and say, well, it's a extreme high risk of a major impact. Yep, okay. But the likelihood is probably pretty low. Okay. So now here we go. Oh, I've got two in the. Oh, I've got this backwards again. How did I do that last time? I said in the grouping, I want likelihood to be source table order reversed. Right. Okay. So yeah. Okay. So now, one thing I might want to do is put in some sort of mitigation piece, right? Because after you've identified them, this is step one. So it's like step one, identify your risks. Step two, make a plan, make a mitigation plan. And then step three is like scenarios. Create scenarios to help you like dry run the mitigation plan with your team. Okay, so this was step one, make your risks, and so identify your risks and identify and classify. Now it's a mitigation plan. So what does a mitigation plan look like? Boy. not a lot I can do to prevent this from happening, but let's say mitigation plan. I'm just going to keep this pretty simple by making this a canvas column. Let's see. Right, column type. Sorry, I blanked there. It is a canvas. Actually, I am going to go grab my favorite little, here it is, modal lines formula. Because I do, nope, nope, nope. Settings. Right, and then back to risk matrix and open this up, and I can start to add some lines in. Okay, clean this up a little bit. Line 1, and add the formula. Modal line formula. Okay. I think I've talked about this in a previous video. This modal line formula. After I do this, maybe I like this up top. Yeah. Then the description. Then I'll duplicate that for another line under the description and call this line 2. Okay. That's a little weird, that formatting, but I guess it is what it is. I could always deal with it later. Okay, so what is modal line formula? I didn't. It's just like a rectangle formula. It's very hard to get it to open up because it just exhibits as a rectangle. There it is. So it says rectangle formula. It's the width, height, and color. And so these are width, height, and color. So in this case, it's just 2000. You can see if I change this, I could probably have made this selectable, but I could put this as 30, and suddenly it's like this block, right? And then my risk matrix, there it is, but giant blocks. So I found for myself, I like using 2 as a height. And I don't know, I've always kept that color. Hide. Great. Okay. So now for the mitigation plan, I'm going to try something a bit different for this one. So I'm going to go back to the back end and say, let's see, hide. For the mitigation plan, I'm actually going to use edit column. I'm going to add AI and say, I've identified a risk with this with a a business risk for a project I'm working on, and I need you to develop a risk mitigation plan. The the risk is defined as at risk name as follows. Risk name at description. The project is at projects. The consequence of the risk is at consequence. I'm going to put in brackets equals consequence dot numerical consequence out of 5. and I'll say the likelihood of the risk occurring is, oh, thank you, at likelihood, and then I'll put in brackets equals likelihood dot numerical likelihood. Oh, I don't need to be doing that, do I? I've already got that here. Right, numerical likelihood out of 5. So I'm going to delete that and just say at numerical consequence. Phil Column, which always sounds like Phil Collins to me. Thankful for that. Edit column. I'm gonna open the preview and I don't get it. Where's my plan? To help me prepare in the event that the risk should occur. Use the following information as background to help you prepare the plan. Okay, what is going on here? Refresh length. Do I need to say that this is supposed to be like a paragraph? Let's do one paragraph. Be friendly with me. Always be friendly. The type is text. Let's try again. Oh, I'm sorry to hear about the risk. Considering protective measures like reinforcing your home structure. See, this is the other problem I find with the Coda AI. It loves to tell me about the information. Do not restate the background information in your output. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. Yeah, see, given the medium consequence, blah, 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 blah. So if I go back and say now client bankruptcy, mitigate proactive measures, diversifying client base, establishing clear. That's great. See, so that's actually pretty helpful. And now if I come, what I might do, because I don't want it to just, maybe I could leave it on so it's updating all the time. Or you can put a button in to refresh it and turn off the refresh when columns change thing. But let's leave that on. I mean, I've got unlimited AI on here, so I'm not all that concerned about it. But let's find a new risk. Let's say something realistic. Go back to my projects, client wiki build. New risk is client, let's say slow data access. So the client may have a hard time finding the necessary documents and info to support creation of the if I don't have the info I need, I may create a structure that's only partially complete May have to go back and change things later if new info comes to light, or the project may be delayed. See, now if I'm doing this mitigation plan um, from this description, I can be a lot less, I guess, specific about the description. Like I can just dump anything I want in that description, and it's gonna update there. So now slow data access. The likelihood this actually happens, I mean, quite often. It's hard for people to prepare for this kind of work, and I mean, there's like access issues. The consequence in this case would probably be medium as well. So I'm going to leave it there and just see what the AI thinks I should do about this. Webcam lagging massively. Yeah, it was. Well, I fixed it. Uh, mitigate. I recommend improving data or efficient retrieval. Yeah, it's like maybe helpful. Um, now what did I say was next? Create scenarios. Okay, I think we're running pretty long here. 40 minutes. Okay. Then the last thing I'm going to do is this scenario piece, and I'm going to use AI for it as well, just for the fun of it. And we'll say I'm actually going to duplicate this column, duplicate with values. We'll call this scenario 1 optimistic. Edit AI. Okay. You to develop to use following information. Need you to write a fictional scenario of this risk occurring. Oh, I just learned occurring has two C's. Use the following information back after you create the scenario. Do not restate the background information in your output. And use the following blah blah I'm working on. I need you to write a fictional scenario of this risk occurring. The scenario should be optimistic in its outlook and should include the I guess like positive successful application of the mitigations plan. Okay, the likelihood of it occurring is, and then I'm going to say the suggested mitigation plan is as follows at mitigation plan. All right, in this one, I'm going to say from one paragraph, I'm going to make it 3 paragraphs. I want a good scenario. Okay. Bright and bustling day. Suddenly, the power outage hits. Enough to disrupt your internet. This could have derailed your progress, but fear not. As the power blinked back on your mitigation plan, backup generators. Great. You're minding your own business when suddenly an asteroid comes crashing down, heading straight for your house. However, here comes the twist. It's actually not very likely it's going to happen. But thanks to the mitigation plan, I detected the asteroid, evacuated, seek shelter. Okay, great. So now I'm going to also, I'm going to duplicate this column and say duplicate with values. This is going to be scenario 2. pessimistic, and then I'll do oh, I'll do one more. Scenario 3, and I'll do this like custom. Okay, so for scenario 2, I need to update the AI. Use the following. Should be pessimistic. Include the failed application of the mitigation plan and the resulting fallout. Okay, that's fun. And then the scenario 3 custom. Let's say we have a text field here called custom scenario. And instead of this, it'll be edit AI. The scenario should. Oh, well, that was weird. Huh? Oh, it came back. Fun. The scenario should adhere to the details outlined here. Custom scenario. And for custom scenario, I am going to set value for new rows equal to AI can handle any risks that may come. It's more than a band aid, it's Superman. Okay, now if I go back, I'm going to also do. Oh, what just happened? Did that not go? Oh, apply to 5 blank rows. Great. Okay, so now I'm going to do a select list. This is all going to make sense. What I probably should have explained this before. Why I'm doing this is you'll be able to select one of the scenarios, so optimistic, pessimistic, custom, and then there'll be a like drop down below that will just look up to one of these depending on the select list. So let's say options are optimistic, pessimistic, custom, and let's see. So scenario select, and then we'll say text and scenario. So this will be equals switch if scenario select equals optimistic, then scenario 1 optimistic. Okay. Pessimistic custom. This would be scenario 2 and scenario 3 custom. Okay, and edit column will start on this one with optimistic. All right, let's see what that looks like. Back to asteroid. So there's the mitigation plan, and then underneath we're gonna do. Let's see. Scenario select. Actually, I need another line. Line 3. We've got scenario select. I need the custom scenario and then the scenario. So I'm going to call this instructions for custom scenario. And unfortunately, there's not really much that I can do with it um, other than keep it there all the time. So where did I do? Did I have? I didn't have it. Okay, so I'm going to make a header here too. So header scenarios and formula scenarios, and then move this up. H2 center. This one mitigation plan. See, I think I have to go large. There we go. This one I'll move down to H3. Oh, I didn't do that right. I left that header hanging there. There we go. Scenarios. So now I could say optimistic if I say pessimistic. Didn't that just change? Imagine this. Custom. Okay, so that changed. Pessimistic. That changed. Optimistic. Optimistic and pessimistic were the same. Did I not? I may not have edited the AI to fill. Okay. And then this one, I maybe didn't edit the AI to fill either. Okay. And get rid of line 3 again. Now, slow data access, 5-minute power. If I go back over here, so optimistic says uh, seemed potentially disastrous, but it was just a minor blip. Great. What happens to pessimistic? It's crucial to have a solid risk adjustment by proactively addressing. Really doesn't understand the pessimistic side of things. What about custom? Okay, so these really aren't getting it at all. Something's up here. Um, I understand the concern. Oh no, imagine this. More severe than anticipated. In the aftermath, the fallout is significant. Great, okay, so that one worked. So what about this one? Fumble for a flashlight. Okay, well. So fails to prevent it says crushes me. Okay, so that's good. I wonder if I don't want to include the mitigation plan for these scenarios. Like, I kind of want to. The suggested mitigation plan is as follows. Like, if I just cut all of this stuff out. Oh, I forgot. You can't. Hey, Coda, you can't highlight within these because as soon as you do. Yeah. Thanks for listening, Coda. Um, if I just cut that, now I say asteroid, loss of life. Yeah, I can handle any risks that may come. It's more the see, somehow I have changed the AI prompt. All right. Well, I might. I hope I cut and I can just paste that stuff back in. No. Okay. What if I try to capture back from here again? Okay. Well, there we go. So now what's going to happen is you add your risks and it will create a mitigation plan for you and some scenarios which you can scroll through. So, probably some more work to do there. But I mean, project lead leaves. Let's say for custom, when the lead leaves, so it says like after the lead leaves, it turns out no one else in their company knew we were working on this project together. Yeah, so now what? I need a button here to refresh. Add a column. I'm going to call this refresh scenarios. Button. Refresh AI assistant. I have no idea what's going on here. What is going on? Escape? Escape. Oh my goodness. Oh, it's up here. All right. What happened? I guess it's because I'm trying to do it in what? All right. Well, that's a refresh if I've ever seen one. We're getting there. This is almost it. So what I'm going to do is go to the back end. It's a good reminder that I probably shouldn't be doing this kind of thing in view, like in the modal layout views. It's always better to do them in the tables where this kind of actually works. So pessimistic, and then add another one. We'll just refresh them all. Okay, and now if you open the row. Okay, so now we're in there, and where did it go? Where was that one that I was looking at? What was that? Client leaves, right? Project lead leaves. Then now, if I refresh, train a backup lead. Great. Optimistic. It's not really a scenario, is it, though? That's really just the mitigation plan. So something's wrong with the custom one. I think it's a way that I. It's like I took out a piece, right? I took out this piece about the scenario should be pessimistic in its outlook and should include the fail application of the mitigation plan. Okay. So this one says scenario should hear the details outlined here and include some mention of the mitigation plan. Fictional scenario, this recurring, like a business fable or story told by someone intimate to the risk event. The fictional. Ay, 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 Coda. Please, man, today I just am trying to get this thing done. Include some. Also, you don't need to know about that. There we go. If I edit AI here and say like a business fable, I wonder if that will help. Of course, I'm putting it in everywhere, so if it doesn't help, too bad. It's now been applied across the entire system. So optimistic. I left the notification on. Oop. All right. I'm gonna call it, I think, and say, I think we're there. Asteroid. The asteroid is full of valuable minerals, space minerals, and because it fell on my house, I own these valuable space minerals. Do something with that. Okay, now I refresh. Bittersweet discovery overshadowed by the tragic loss. It catastrophic. Oh, it just changed. Bright shiny asteroid crash as the dust settles. Space minerals. Newfound ownership of these values. Curiosity and excitement among my peers. Oh, but then I remember that it collided with my house. Extreme damage. Oh, it led to my untimely demise. Triggering reminder of being prepared. Okay, so regardless of the value of the space minerals, I have died in this scenario. So that's helpful, maybe. And here we are. I hope you've learned something today. And if you would like me to build something like this for your organization, um, just let me know. All right. See ya.